Gentlemen, we're here, you know,
We're really doing it.
man of my word. I brought my boy DJ. Had to throw him on the podcast real quick.
It's a pleasure, man.
You too, brother. So, we were chatting up a little bit, thinking about like different types of topics and what we could cover in this segment. And really, I kind of wanted to do something along the lines of like self-reflection in terms of like what other people see in you, and that can go off a lot of different things like insecurities and self-esteem. Like at what age did you start to feel like other people's opinions towards the way you looked and acted mattered to the
Hmm.
rest of the world? You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is right being born with a hearing impairment. Some of my earliest memories are definitely realizing that I sounded different than everybody else, realizing that my volume was disproportionate to other people. I used to get in trouble in class all the time for speaking too loudly. And then you had just a lisp, people just pointed that out, second graders, third graders are real good about that, right? Like, if there's any difference in you to them, they will let you know. Um, and yeah, so my way of coping with it at that time was just I was the class clown. I knew that being loud was inappropriate, and inappropriate things make people laugh. So when the class would laugh because I was being obnoxious, I sort of coped with that feeling of being different by creating humor for other people, or just being the bad kid. Like if I would get thrown out of class, put into suspension or whatever. Um, so that's the first thing. That's my first experience really with understanding that people are paying attention and what I'm putting out, people are giving me feedback on that, whether it's blatantly, yo, you sound like you're not from here, or um, shushing me, or whatever the case was. Yeah, now that was at a real young age, and I went to speech therapy and all that too, which other kids knew I was doing. Um, so there was just, yeah, that issue with self esteem right off the rip with that. Probably carrying on more into like later in middle school and high school. Once I started to realize my financial background was very different than the people I went to school with. I noticed oh, I'm living in trailer houses and all my other friends are, um, in a two-story house with a full family that's been married their whole life, eating dinners around the table, and that wasn't going on for me back home. So there was a lot of that hiding out amongst my peers. I never invited anyone over to my house unless they were in the same neighborhood, right? Like in the same trailer park, or yeah, just kind of like a black sheep in their own way. But as far as the um, kid that were in sports, kid that were from functional families, I always went there. I wouldn't dare let them see the way that the circumstances that I was living in. Uh, yeah, man. So those two main things, right? That's my two early experiences was realizing oh, not only am I different than the people I'm around, um, but they also realize it, and my security, right? Like my livelihood as a person could be threatened. That whole issue with self-esteem probably started there.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because like when I first met you, like obviously like I realized like you had not like a speech impediment, but I could tell like your lisp and you always talk very quietly. So I'm like, there's definitely something off. But that, like, I feel like with age, that never really changed like the way like I thought of you as a person. Because like for me, for example, like growing up, like being fat and like growing up very differently from the way that like because I grew up in a town where like it was very white privileged, and I was on the lower income spectrum, single mom, broken back. So like I was always I was always trying to help my mom, and that put me into like this crowd of like outcasts where like I never seen anything like obviously I've seen things bad in people, but I never really like judged them because I understand like from a young age that like stuff happens to people. You know, there's certain situations and scenarios that people just can't like physically overcome. They're born that way or things like that. So like when I met you, I wasn't like, oh, like this dude's got a hearing problem and he's got a lisp and he sounds like he's from Georgia. I'm like, nah, like that was never really a thought that crossed my mind. You know, like if we click, then we click, and it's funny because like growing up, you think about like what other people think about you so much. I mean, even as an adult, you still do, but I feel like even now, like I really don't care. For like the past year and a half, like I really don't care if people like me or not, and some people don't like it. Whatever, that's so besides the fact. But it's so weird to think like as you grow up and you mature, like that's so relevant. Like your size, shape, color, financial background, if you got kids, whatever the case may be. Like I have such a wide variety of like friends that's like I don't care if you're broke, you're rich, you know, you are homeless, like none of that matters to me. You know, it's like genuinely your personality, and I feel like when you're growing up and you're going through all these insecurities and like worrying about what other people think about you, you're not actually taking into consideration somebody else's personality or even like you're just as a kid you're so judgmental, right? And I know like when I was growing up, like bullying was a thing. I don't know if it definitely was in your generation, but like now, like it's just like it's not really that much of a thing. You know, people are like killing themselves about it. And it's not cool. Like I don't think it's it's funny at all. But it's crazy to think like even when I was growing up, which wasn't that like long ago compared to I mean I'm not saying like you're old or anything, but like compared to your generation and my generation and generations after that, like everything changes. But like that sense of people worrying about what other people think exists in every single generation, which I think is crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. As far as the bullying thing goes, like right when you said that, I was like, well, yeah, like that was kind of my way of overcoming my shit too, right? Where I was like, I knew what was wrong with me, right? What was different about me to my peers. So then there was like specific people that I'm thinking, envisioning them right now, right? That had it worse off than I did, right? Like their impediment, their difficulties were more crippling to them, and I exploited the shit out of that, right? Like I was always like the spineless bully, right? I wouldn't say it to their face because I did have like some kind of a conscience and didn't want to hurt their feelings, but like I was like talking about him at the lunch table, right? Being like, yo, look at fucking Tabitha over there, fucking, she just stood up from the computer chair and there's a fucking bowl of piss in her chair, right? Like, and then we, yeah, and it's not like, not that I'm proud of that. I'm still like somewhat ashamed of that though, because like you said, right, we are as a species becoming more aware of the magnitude of these uh, behaviors that we have accepted for generations, right? You look at the generation a decade ago, 5 decades ago, whatever, bullying was a part of the deal. That was a part of the deal. But now we're seeing the grave consequences of people dying and taking their own lives. They're shooting up schools, right? They're committing crimes. So it has cracked down, but uh, I definitely had an experience with that. And then you talk about like physicality, right, and self-image, and I was thinking, and like the way that you were able to dress as opposed to your peers, and I really identify with that because I was the same type of way where like my hair was greasy because I didn't have shampoo all the time, or like I probably bought my first stick of deodorant like my like sophomore year of high school, um, realizing that I was like wearing clothes with stains on them. I'm like shout out to all the hand me down kids, right? And meanwhile, my friends are showing up with tags on their fucking Nikes or whatever, right? And there's definitely that feeling of just being different, and I just see that instead of like faltering and like suffering from that, when you're a kid, now you're an adult, right? So like you don't care. I feel like maybe you don't care about what other people think about you because if there's something in you or about you that is disturbing to other people great enough, then you have the power to change it and you will. Because, you know, if 9 out of 10 people are saying, hey, this way that you're behaving or this thing that you're doing isn't cool, you're going to realize that, like, 90% overruled the 1 out of 10, and the 1 out of 10 is me, right? Because I'm the one doing it and I'm co signing my own shit. So, like, as an adult, you can adjust yourself, you can get a better job so you can afford those nicer clothes, right? You can read books to learn how to, like, speak well, right? You can follow different people on social media that have, like, a more positive outlook so you're not carrying around a negative attitude, right? That's for me, anyways. Whereas as a kid, if you don't have nice clothes, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So yeah, just while you were talking about that, I was thinking like, yeah, just use that sort of like obnoxious class clown and exploitating my peers sort of approach to just kind of lay a blanket on all that shit until I could actually do something about it, you know? Um, and same for the physicality of like your body image, right? We don't even know about weightlifting until high school, you know. So again, if you can't afford to eat healthy, right, and it's constant top ramen and spam and whatever the food bank got, right, then that's what you get. Until again you get to come into your own self as an adult and realize like, oh, okay, I need to be drinking water, I need to have sufficient protein, I need to be eating clean, I need to be eating vegetables, whatever the case may be. You can adjust accordingly, but as a kid, yeah, you gotta find your own way to, at least for me, I had to find my own ways to just, again, just kind of blanket the issues that were going on because there was nothing at that point that I could do about it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean because I remember specifically like how you were saying like there's this one person that he tried to bully me and he thought he was so funny, right? I don't even care if he sees this, but I was wearing this yellow sweatshirt and I got it for free, you know, because like growing up, like my mom tried to put us in a good town with a good school system, and she was struggling. So like I was big on hand me downs, and a lot of clothes I got were from my older cousin who happened to be a girl. So like, you know, like I would rock like girl sneakers or girl sweatshirts and stuff
Oh,
like.
you were leading the LGBT movement before it even happened, dog. You missed your opportunity, there,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I had to do what I had to do, you know. And this kid, he tried clowning me for. I had a yellow sweatshirt on. And he was calling me like, he was calling me mustard or something like that. And I was never like the
Isn't
class
that a rapper now?
a mustard.
Yeah.
I don't know, a little mustard on the beat. I
Yeah,
don't,
man.
I'll have to look it up. I
Could have
don't.
made it big.
He could have. I still probably could as little mustard. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
never know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I remember like I never I never tried to be that class clown. I was such an asshole when I was younger. Like I wouldn't stand for any of it. Like I wasn't like super violent, but like I let it be known like I wasn't that dude to like fuck around with, and I feel like a big part of that plays into like my insecurities. Like I wanted people to fear me so they couldn't like think
Mm-hmm.
anything else besides fear. Like, and growing up, like it fucked me, dude. Cause like you know, like I got into like the street life and stuff like that, and like that was my whole motive. Like as like in my whole teenage years was like I wanted everyone to fear me so they couldn't see what was actually going on. Like, you know, I was you know self conscious. I didn't want to like when I was younger. I wouldn't take my shirt off to go swimming or anything like that. And I'm like looking back at it now, I'm like, motherfucker, I still looked fat regardless. Like with shirt on, shirt off, I still look fat. But it was always just like an image thing. I wouldn't go out to the beach. I wouldn't eat in front of girls. I wouldn't do anything. And like now that's all changed, you know, as an adult. Like you were saying, like once you grow up and mature, and you start to realize like what the gym is, and eating clean and drinking enough water and stuff like that. And that's not everyone's life. Some people grow up and they don't care about stuff like that, but like for obviously like for what you do, and like me trying to be like a Muay Thai fighter and personal trainer and stuff like that, like that's vital for my life, because it ties into my whole entire career. So like now as an adult, like eating properly, drinking properly, going to the weight, eating enough proteins, like that's all stuff that I have to do on my own, and without the help of like, obviously like I have people in the fitness industry and stuff like that'll help me to get along, but it was always like a huge thing where like I was so insecure about like my body, and I had like, even now like I have body dysmorphia, like even though like I'm getting toned and I'm cutting weight and this and that, like I'm like, damn, I look like shit, but like that's just like me, you know what I mean? That has nothing to do with anybody else. And even as a kid, like, dude, what the fuck are they doing outside?
Waiting for an mission. Wow, they're about to post up right outside of this fucking window. Okay, here we go.
Dude, almost ruined the whole video.
Thank you for your service. Tax dollars at work.
For real, what time is it right now?
No shit, dude. Wow, they're probably on overtime too.
It's 11:04.
Unreal.
Totally just lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about how many drugs they were on right now. Yeah, body dysmorphia, right? So like you're working your way out of that by training, treating yourself right, and you're on that upward trend, and there's that retrospect, right? This is the thing about self-esteem that's a gift for people like you and me, is we get to determine what we say about ourselves, and that's an acquired ability, right? Because like growing up, again, we're taught that external reflection, we're taught that what other people see of us is what we are, and then you got social media on top of that. That's all you see. Even when you break out of school or you break out of work for the day, and you're going home and spending 2 hours just scrolling through, once again being reminded of how you're other than, maybe not less than, maybe not more than, but simply other than, and that constant comparison that we've probably all fallen victim to. You break away from that, and the retrospect of seeing physically where you're at health-wise, what your eating habits are, what your gym habits, your training habits are. There's that retrospect where you're like, man, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot further from where I came, and that's been important to me, right? Like, I had the injury to my left ear that put me out of contact sports, and all of a sudden the only thing I could do to feel a part of was go to the gym, and that didn't even last long because I chose to focus more on what I couldn't do, which was wrestle and play football. And so then I was just like, well, I'm worthless. Like, I'm going to the gym, and much like that little boy that was talking different than everyone else in the class, now I'm that like young adolescent coming into a man, and like I'm different than everyone around me, because as soon as they get done lifting weights, like they're running outside to go do drills, they're going in on the mats, to practice, and I'm not. And I focused on that, and that's what pulled me out of the gym shit for the next 5-6 years. But the people that you and I get to be today is like, whatever you feel about yourself is what is true for you, and that's a gift, right? Even the thing about dressing, I just noticed this not too long ago, is like when I put on like my jeans, right, and I put on a shirt, I remember vividly thinking to myself, will other people like this? I remember vividly thinking to myself like, oh dude, like, is anyone gonna notice that scruff on my shoe? I gotta clean that up. Now I look in the mirror and I'm just like, do I like these colors? Do I like the way this shit fits on my arm? Do I like whatever? Like, are these too skinny? I like what the standard? Fuck all that. It's like, I like the color of these jeans. I like the slimming. I like the baggy. I like whatever. And that's like, it took me a while to acknowledge that when I'm flexing in the gym, I'm not flexing and saying to myself, "Oh, I'm almost as big as that other guy that I follow on Instagram," right? I'm not saying I'm not putting myself above anyone else neither. I'm just saying like, damn, I remember like the first time I noticed I had a pectoral muscle, and that was like years ago. And there's been a lot of hard work and dedication to get me to the point to where I have a body that I admire for myself and not for anyone else. And like you say, that body dysmorphia, it comes and it goes. But what I'm grateful for, and I'm sure you can relate to this, right? Is like, again, now you're empowered and you have the self-esteem and the self-belief that you can become what you want to become because you have the resources and you have that drive to get there because you already leaps and bounds away from the person that you're describing that you were as a kid that wouldn't even take his shirt off at the pool. Now you can't fucking wait to take your shirt off in front of people, so it's cool, man.
Yeah. It's crazy to think, like, though, the way you evolve when you put in, like, the right work, because I know, like, maybe I could have been like this a couple years ago, maybe, but I never put in the right work. Like, I always looked in the wrong avenues for like, I was always on the, like, the fastest, easiest, fucking, most insufficient way ever. And now I'm, like, I'm willing to leap through hurdles, or not through, but like leap through hoops and jump over hurdles to get what I want. And that it's crazy to think, like, before, like, I was just, like, scared, innocent to an extent, little, like, fat kid that, like, I was afraid of everything, but I didn't want anybody else to know that, so I try to empower, like, fear into everyone, to show that, like, I wasn't scared. But, like, now, like, I'm so calm with myself. Like, I can say, like, dude, I was a scared little boy. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was playing roles that I just, like, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially just couldn't play. But I was trying to do that part, to help out my mom or my brother or people around me. Like, and I feel like even now, like, I have this problem with over caring. Like, I'll over care because I know exactly what it feels like to be, like, that sad little boy. Or, like, I know the feelings. Like, you don't even have to be a boy. Like, I'll go out of my way to help anyone that I can, which is, it's crazy because before, like, I don't want to help you. I'm trying to hurt you or instill fear into you. Like, it was never like, it was always transactional. There was always something, there's always, like, a motive behind what I was doing, where, like, now it's just like I'm trying to do better for myself because I can see, like, I'm not, obviously, like, I have problems sometimes where I'm like, I don't feel like I look good and this and that. And then, like, what you were saying about the whole, like, do I look good in these clothes? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like, dude, I bought so much clothes after Griffin died, and the amount of clothes that I wear now is like the same clothes. Like, people must think that I'm broke. That not broke, but, like, have no clothes. It's just like, this is what I like to wear now, like, I'm never outside. Like, I'll be in the gym or I'll be training or I'm at work, and, like, my work setting is, like, gym attire. Gym's obviously gym attire, and training is, like, training attire. So it's, like, all relatively to gym clothes. So, like, when I leave the house, like, I just, most of the time I want to be in, like, sweats and a t-shirt or something like that. But then, like, the other day, I'm pretty sure I said it in the last podcast, like, I left the house looking like a top tier drug dealer. And I'm like, I don't even smoke weed, but I'm like, I like this outfit, And I get stereotyped for that all the time. But I've gone to this place where it's like, I like this outfit, dude. It really doesn't matter if you don't like it. You can criticize me, whatever you want, think whatever you want. Like, that whole character assassination thing, like, from being stereotyped, like, I still do it to other people, like, I'm not an asshole. So, like, I was actually talking to Josh about it earlier, like, because Chad had made a joke about this chick being Josh's wife, and I, like, looked, and I'm like, I started dying laughing, and he's like, wow, you just, like, look at people and laugh like that? And I'm like, no, it's just, like, the face with the comment. I was like, that's what got me. But, like, I still, like, I'll be in the mall sometimes, and I'm just like, You know, because like I frequently go to the movies by myself, and I just be sitting there, and I'm like character assassinating the fuck out of everybody. I'm like, what the fuck are these people doing? And then like, then it hits me like that person that I built is like, dude, like you used to be like not like that. I mean, there's some people that just is like outrageous, but I'm just like that's my first thought. Like that's my first instinct is like character assassinate, and then like that good person that I built up over this past year and a half is like, dude, like maybe you know like think of like what does their financial background look like, or you know what you know are they having problems at home, or like there's a whole lot of stuff that is under the scenes that you have no idea about. So it's not fair for me to like to look at you and be like, damn, like, you know, and just start dying laughing. Because, like, if I laughed at everyone I thought that looked funny, you know how many arguments and shit I would get into on a day to day basis? And it's not cool, especially like in my career, you know, like, it's my job to help people with health, wellness, fitness. And that even ties into a little bit of mental health. Like, obviously, like, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. But, like, as a kid growing up, like, with depression, bipolar, and, you know, always being in the down, you know, trying to make it look good for everybody else. Like it's literally in my blood to try and help. But there's always like that person that I created when I was younger to like be like what the fuck is going on here, you know what I mean, instead of like that caring person that I know I can be because it ties into my career to be like maybe I should go talk to them, you know, not like come off in a rude way, be like, hey, like this, listen, this is what I do for a living, you know, you can take down my business number, here's a card, you know, I'll give them one of my cards, and just tell them like if you need to talk or you need anything, like you call me, you could text me. Obviously, like I said, like I'm not a nutritionalist, I'm not a therapist, but I will try because I know what it like all these different feelings, you know, over the years. Like I may not have been through what you've been through exactly. I may not have dressed the way you dressed or had the same problems as you have, but I've definitely felt those feelings, you know?
Yeah, just the concept of conquering, persevering, overcoming, right? That's something that not everyone has, so it really doesn't even matter the specifics of, like you said, their background, what their body prefers, right? The simple fact of the matter is, right, like at a principled standpoint, that you were a certain type of way, physically, mentally, emotionally, and then throughout a course of application of certain principles and dedicating yourself to a certain process, you have overcome, persevered, and conquered, and that experience is universal, right? Like you can teach or influence anyone that's willing in that way, and that's a powerful ability to have. Um, yeah. Uh, there was something else I wanted to mention about what you were speaking on, but it left me now. Um, but yeah, man, I just think that over time, right, the more that we grow, the more we mature, the less that sort of like external imagery that's going on where you're constantly worried about other people, it just has less of an effect. It's still there to some degree. Like I said, if 90% of the people around you are saying you're acting like an asshole and you haven't detected anything, right, like we got to be aware of our own delusion sometimes or lack of awareness. But outside of that, like what we feel about ourselves and the path that we're taking, that's where the self-esteem comes from now, is our own self-validation, um, which is, again, like a pretty valuable asset to have, and not a lot of people know. I should say not a lot of people, not everyone knows about that. Um, and through your line of work, paired with your experience, you get to teach that. What my point was going to be, that I wanted to touch on, is when you said like over caring, because you like have noticed about yourself that you may character assassinate someone, identify the differences right off the rip, and then you consider, well, what was their upbringing? Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe this, that, and the third. Like, I don't even get to go that far anymore, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't character assassinate. I love to character assassinate by a way of humor, right? Like when we pulled up at the 7-Eleven and that chick was wearing that thing, bro, and I was like, dude, I gotta do something with this. I can't just see something like that and then just be leaving it alone, right? I'm like gonna try to make some humor out of it, and you were cracking up for the next 5 minutes, you know. And now again, right, like to tie it full circle, that's a trait from my childhood, right? That if I'm uncomfortable about something, then I immediately default to humor. And it's kind of a no harm, no foul thing, right? But I do have to be careful because I could do it in that instance and it's all fun and game. But sometimes I have noticed that now all of a sudden my thinking has resorted back to everyone's inferior and I'm superior when I'm around, when I'm out and about making these observations. But then as soon as I go behind closed doors, everyone is superior and I'm sitting there just rolling my own thoughts about myself with the same negativity that I've been projecting onto others while I was out and about. So it sometimes it's a fine line, but yeah, man, it's yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing that self-esteem is determined by ourselves, you know. Um, yeah, so I want to bring up a couple points, right? Uh, so on the note of uh, character assassinating other people, uh, wondering if how you dress is going to impress someone else or not, right? So to sort of compartmentalize where that come from and our experience with that, would you agree that um, when you're in like a romantic relationship, right, or when you're feeling some type of way about a female, you guys are hitting it off, you've been seeing each other for a while, do you feel like the, magnitude of what that person has to say about you is um, affects you greater than other people in your life?
Um, I wouldn't say other people because, like you said, like this, you having your own self esteem is really vital. So like me being able to love myself and my self esteem's fairly high. Like there's obviously like with my body dysmorphia, some days I feel lower than normal, but does it feel good to be complimented by like your girlfriend or wife or whatever? I mean, obviously I don't have a wife, but like your girlfriend or whoever you're talking to, yeah, it feels good. But like at the same time, like I, not to sound like cocky or anything, but like I know I look good. Like I'm not ugly. I'm not like the fucking hottest dude out there. But like, do I appreciate it? Yes. But at the same time, you know, we were touching this like a little bit before we had started this with like the whole like you're being like too good for like girls, not like in this generation, but like say in yours and mine and even the generations below us, like there becomes a point where like guys are too nice sometimes. I feel like, and a lot of girls like are just built off this like toxicity where like they don't know what to do with someone who's too nice, and they often find themselves like not liking this like you because you're too nice or you're too like especially with me like being too over caring and stuff like that. And like I'm so level headed, like I don't argue. Like there's like you might piss me off, but I'm not gonna argue with it because like I have so many things I have to do on a day-to-day basis where like that's so irrelevant to me. So like the only reason why I even brought that up is because like yeah, like it doesn't feel good to have girls compliment you and stuff like that, and like obviously like your relationship or the girl that you're talking to, yeah, it does feel good. Does it like do I try to change the way that I dress or anything like that, or the way that I act, or like act differently towards females just because like they're showing me attention that like I thought I wanted at first, if that makes sense. Like not that I didn't want it, but like I'm so independent. Like I don't need it because I'm so good at being able to love myself, which sounds like very like cocky, but it's not even that. Like I'm just such an independent person. Like I like to do things on my own. Like I do. I'm a loner. Like naturally. Like even as a kid, like I just like to be alone. You know. So like if I genuinely like let someone in. Like a female specifically that I'm like trying to endure a relationship with, none of that's really affecting me because what the fuck is going on outside? Some dude stuck in a
Someone trying to
pothole.
figure out how to drive out here. Driver's ed going on in your driveway. I don't know
But
if it's your neighbor or your other brother from another mother that comes into this house sometimes.
I don't
Anyway,
know. So back to what I was saying. Like none of that is really like affecting me in any way, shape, or form. But what can happen, right, is that I feed into it because I start to care. I start to get emotions and this and that. And, like, I feel like from growing up, like, not being, like, clingy, but, like, everyone's always left, like, and I, like, a lot of people didn't have faith in me or anything like this. So, like, people are just, like, constantly leaving my life. So I built up like this barrier where like I have to be able to love myself. So I feel like for you asking me that question, like me personally, I don't crave that, but like what I do feel like I end up doing when I get into like a relationship is like I don't need you to be clingy like up my ass 24/7, but like I like to have communication, just know like we're on the same page and like things are going smoothly because like I always have that fear in the back of my head like you're going to leave. Um but at the same time like I'm not going to change the way I act for you. Um but I just like to have that open line of communication, like to know like we're on the same page and like things are going good, because like I always feel like you're gonna leave, regardless like if I'm good, too good, if I'm an asshole, like so like I try and be like so perfect almost, that I end up most of the time like I mean I haven't been in a whole lot of relationships, especially recently, but um, the ones that I was in, I feel like I did that and it kind of ruined it because like I'm overly caring and like I try to be so good and like some people don't like it, you know, especially because like I'm really upfront and honest and like sometimes I come off like mad rude because like I just say what I'm thinking, and most of the time like I'll try and like sit and hold that back and like think about it, and then like you get like the what are you thinking about, you know, is everything all right, you doing all right, you know, and then it just is just like listen, this is what it is and that's it. So I don't know, to like sum it up, like I feel like none of that really matters to me personally because of like what type of work I've done and like growing up, like everyone leaving. So I don't look for like the the way you look at me or like does it make me feel better. I mean like yeah, a little bit, but like for the most part like I have a lot of self-love, so it's like if you don't like me the way that I am, you know, I'm not going to change for you, like, because I like who I am, and I know that I always have my back regardless of the situation, you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, like more from the female perspective, right? It's like more or less I was asking that because I will sit here and say too, right? Like if someone doesn't like exactly what they see of me, right, and what I'm offering to them, I will not adjust myself because I'm confident in myself. But in the last 10 out of 10 relationships that I've been in, I've adjusted myself in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, I'll start liking the music that you like, and I'll start watching the movies that you watch, and I'll start abandoning my own plans and the things that I enjoy doing so that we can go out and do the things that are on your agenda and your itinerary, because I the joy of other people is way more valuable than my own joy in my experience. That's in practice, in theory, right? Like when I say that out loud, I'm like, that's fucking bogus. Why would I ever do that? Don't be that. But that just seemed to be what comes out when I'm in a relationship. That seems to be my default. And I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, right? Because I don't really feel myself losing a sense of self, right? Like that, you talk about independence and self love. As soon as she walks out the door, right? And I don't mean breaking up, I just mean like as soon as she leaves the house or like I go out of town for work or whatever the case may be, I'm not all like stirred up and shaking inside like, well, how do I act? Who do I give myself to? Like, where's the validation come from? Because that does come from within. Uh, so it's not like that, but yeah, it was more or less that the reflection of what a female has to say about me in a relationship is way more. It's gonna drive me to make more changes greater than any other person in my life telling me about it. Um, that's just been my experience. But yeah, yeah. I just wanted to kind of get your perspective on it. And like it is envious, dude. It's like I'm envious of the fact um, that you are so like you're not fronting when you say like you're not out here to put on a show. You're not, seeing a female and being like, okay, well, she's clearly attracted to this type of dude, so I'm gonna be that dude. That's 100% what I have done in several cases with my past relationships, and especially when I feel like that person, right? Like my external reflection of that person is that she has a lot to offer, and I start to envision the ways that she could uh, hold her place in my life, right? The certain capacities that she can fill, whether it's in a career, right? Whether it's in like our personal lives and what our goals and aspirations for ourselves are as human beings, whether it's the family dynamic, right? As soon as I see that, oh well, she got these ways about her and these assets about her that could embolden my own life, I am driven uh, to adjust accordingly so that I can be seen as worthy in her eyes of receiving all of those things that are on the table, um, which is just interesting to say out loud and discuss that a little bit because, again, I wouldn't uh, like to admit that about myself, but that seems to be the case.
Yeah, it's funny how you said like you would give up things to like give other people joy, and I feel like that's one thing that I do have a problem with is like I genuinely like to see other people happy because like I know like obviously you know with the situation that happened recently, like, it had me all fucked up in the game, right? But that's because like I gave away so much of what I like to do to try and not please another person, but like to show like I'm there, like you can have fun just as much fun as I was doing, as I was having, and it ruined my own self love, because like I was giving and giving and trying like for some reason like I'm so stupid because I'll look past like everything like any like sort of like as you call it red flags like obviously there wasn't a whole lot but there's enough to like just this sounds so bad but there's enough to just walk like fucking walk through the field and I'm just like I see the green one down there. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow. And it's funny how you said that because I feel like I do have a problem with like people pleasing, because like I'm genuinely like so happy, joyous, and free. Like everyone at my work and stuff like that, like all the clients are like, you have like such a good aura about you. Like I love your energy because like I'm always really happy and like hyped to like just be alive and be able to be of service to other people. And I feel like when you said that, like, dude, I definitely have a problem with people pleasing when I'm in a relationship. I'll cut stuff that I find enjoyment and so we can do something that makes you happy. And then when things don't work out, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Now I have to, like, I talked about it a little bit. I was going on a jog, and a lot of people ask me like where my motivation comes from, and like how I continue to maintain a motivation and continue to do the things that I do. And I pretty much had just said like motivation is what gets you started, and then it's consistency and discipline, which creates a routine. And then once you break that routine with people, places, and things, that's when you had to go out and find that motivation to go and get back what you essentially lost trying to give away, to make other people happy. And that, like, after experiencing that, because like I hadn't been in a relationship since Griffin died, so like when I threw myself in the field and was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. I didn't realize, like, I didn't know what I didn't know. So when you said that, I was like, dude, that is a problem that I definitely do have. Which, like, probably I shouldn't be saying this online, but like it might be, somebody else might be able to resonate with it and like be like, hey man, like I felt that feeling before, even though I don't get a whole lot of views, but maybe this one might blow up. You never know. It could be international. Who the fuck knows? But it's really like it's key to learn, like, to go through stuff like that, because life is built off trial and error. Like, if people, like, there's a lot of people who are millionaires, and like they came from messed up backgrounds, dropped out of high school, haven't gone to college. Like, it's all trial and error. You have to really like go through it and then learn from those mistakes, and create like this playbook almost of like, okay, so like this is what not to do and this is what to do, and that's how you continue to mold. And that all goes back into like your own like self-esteem and like the way other people look at you, because once you build yourself out from the inside, more people will be attracted to the way that you are, through stuff that you've done, with work that you've done on yourself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 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 and that's why uh, the self-esteem that you get from other people, the perspective that you get about yourself from other people is important. And just by the people that are coming around you, what type of person you are, right? That's something I just heard on some piece of content pretty recent. I think it was David Goggins, but he was talking about like, if you're hanging out with 5 losers, you're gonna be number 6. Right?
Yeah, yep, I've seen that before actually.
And that's really what it is, man. And then you talked about like the people pleasing, right? They're abandoning your own joy in order to be a vessel to someone else's. And then you were just talking about abandonment, which is the other issue I just wanted to briefly go back over for the sake of identification, right? Is that that is what, again, that like inner child of me, where I'm just always finding ways to have like to manifest and demonstrate humor, is you won't leave me if I'm making you laugh, right? People always come back to that which makes them laugh, because laughter is a form of joy. Uh, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because when I'm making other people laugh and they're getting joy, then I'm getting joy. It's not like I'm abandoning or cutting myself out of my own experience because I'm sharing that with someone else. But as far as letting people in, as far as like wearing my heart on my sleeve, is I've really scaled back on that. When I was in high school, when I was in my younger adulthood, it was always on my sleeve, because I knew my story was so rich with triumph and rich with belief and overcoming. And that's not a flex, that's just the way that it was. I got told by my family members all the time that you've come a long way. And I didn't understand that, because I wasn't really fucking up when I was 9, 10 years old, but apparently I was. I was that kid who talked about violence, right? I was that kid in anger management. I had therapists going on. I think I'd seen psychiatrists too, right? But I vividly remember the anger issue and the violent outburst and the mood swings, right? The acting out in class. And and then you tack onto all that my environment at home, my circumstances. So I got told a lot growing up that like you should be proud of yourself. You come a long way. So I knew that if I shared about that experience with other people, they would be endeared and therefore keep me close. And as time had gone on, I don't know if it's because I put more value and that feels more precious to me, or if it's because I myself have been the abandoner, right? And not in the sense of like just packing up ship and bailing, but just with my experience, as you know, I've moved states 4 times in the last 5 years. Uh, so my relationship with people chronologically or in a essence of duration is short lived. And a lot of these people, I regret to say, I don't maintain a relationship with since I've left. But while I was there physically in um, that geographic, right, they were so vital to me. And I'm always available, right? I will always pick up the phone, but I just don't need them anymore, right? Like that sounds horrible to say, but at that point in my life, they were a catalyst to the life that I was trying to lead at that point in time. Now I'm here trying to lead this life in this point in time, and I don't just go and put my heart out on the table all the time because uh, not to be corny, but because it gets stomped on from time to time, and I don't really enjoy that. And I was thinking about while you were talking about abandonment and letting people in, right? Like you and I met, and we met in a place that was very vulnerable, right? And it's like this spiritual retreat of sorts where I let my heart out because I'm in this environment where it's safe to do so. Um, and we didn't really get into like the heart and heart or anything, and we really haven't until fairly recently. But again, once we noticed that while this person is sticking around me and I'm drawn to stick around this person, obviously there's some commonalities that we haven't even discovered yet. And then I'll open myself up to that vulnerability, and I'm not really like that fear of abandonment is set to the side because I'm starting to realize like, oh, this is a person that is a catalyst to the life that I want to lead today, um, which is cool, you know. The
Yeah.
abandonment issues are motherfuckers.
Dude, it really is. It really is. But going off like wearing your heart on your sleeve, I could totally identify with that. Like a lot of people, especially recently, have been
Round
dude.
two, round two.
But like a lot of people, especially recently, have been taking my kindness for weakness, and it literally it gets on my nerves so bad. Especially because like you, like I'm not gonna sound like I'm not trying. I mean, I'm not going to. I meant to say I don't mean to sound like a dick, but like I'm so like I said, and like as you know, like I'm very independent. So like if you're doing anything that's aggravating my peace, or you're not self aware of like situations you're putting yourself in, like I'm gonna walk away. You know, like I have no reason to be around you. Like I don't need that in my life, and that's what a lot of people hate because like they'll not use me, but they'll try to like like fiddle their way around my brain and try to figure out the way that I operate, and I don't I'm a very difficult person to try to figure out. And a lot of people will think like, oh, like he's so nice, he's so caring, like he wouldn't hurt a fly. But I'm like, it gets to a point where like you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until like, dude, I'm not that guy. Like I don't try to be that guy to like freak out, but like as I like had told you, dude, like that incident in the store, like there was just countless times of people just like pushing me to a place where like I have a lot of self control until it gets to a point where like I feel my time's being wasted. I feel that my kindness is being taken for granted, and I feel all these feelings, and that's when I start to like expand and expand until like I get to a point where like I'm gonna pop, and I really don't want to see what that looks like, because like I know myself from back when I wasn't like this at all, and I was always blowing up. Like I'd always try to fight fire with fire. And now it's like I don't try to do that. But one thing I definitely do need to work on is wearing my heart on my sleeve, because like I'll wear it for anybody, and especially recently, dude, like it's constantly getting stomped on, and it's like it becomes a point where like I have to worry about myself, and it sounds very selfish, but like when I did work on myself in the beginning, like I had very few people that I talked to, but the people that I did talk to were very genuine and helped me to get through it. And then like as I started to figure out what I wanted to do for a career, and I got into like a place where like I'm talking to a lot of people, and I have to build my social skills, and I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and then like I try to throw a relationship in there, and then like this and that, and I feel like people started to take my kindness for weakness, and it got to a point where I'm like, you know what, dude, like I'm seriously all set. So that's definitely something that I need to work on, because I'm not trying to be like fully like enclosed, like, oh, like I don't want to, like I'm only gonna give love to the people who love me now, because like I said, like I'm very big on networking. Networking. Wow, I was past my bedtime. I'm very big on networking, and like building a circle that's gonna help me grow, instead of like letting too many people in at once, because like now obviously like Griffin's dead, like, and I'm like I wouldn't say like completely alone, but like for the most part, especially because I do like a lot of stuff on my own, like there's times where like I read this thing that said the loneliest person will have the most friends, and I felt that, like I felt that in my soul, because I felt like a couple months ago, like I have so many friends, but a lot of them were acquaintances. They didn't really see what I seen in them, and well, what I mean by that is like they didn't see in me what I seen in them. Like it was always like me, and this goes over like over caring again, being too nice, and so like I wanna be able to dial it back, but without like becoming like so enclosed. Like I'm not willing to make new relationships with certain people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it's real, right? And that's the point that I was trying to make a little bit, right? Is that we met in a environment where it was, I felt able to just like connect with people on a different level, whereas like the people that I may see on a semi daily basis, multiple times a week, and I got their phone number right, I might have their socials, uh, and I don't talk to them about nothing, right? I'm not, and I think about it, right? Like growing up, it was very much like the opening conversation. Like I would just come on so strong talking about like whatever was going on in my life, and they'd just be like, yeah, yeah, word, like yeah, dude. And that was it, right? And but people, like you just learn to have sort of like I don't know, like a thermometer, and like feel the temperature of other people, and like a sort of like a measuring stick for depth without even talking to somebody. You can see by the way that they carry themselves, maybe it's their spiritual aura or whatever, like this person has depth and weight. They've been through some shit, they've overcome some shit, they're on a certain path right now, right? There's a certain theory within them. You get that sense, and then uh, you can collaborate with that person, and like you said, invite them into your circle, and then wear your heart on your sleeve. Um, yeah, that's why I feel like we linked up in the way that we did and have, is because that constant like switching and turning, and adjustment being made, right? Like things happened in your life that you were absolutely powerless over, had no control over, and I identify with that at a level of principle, and then the way that that has affected you moving forward, to where you kind of latch on to people around and say like, don't leave me, and I identify with that because I'm 4,000 miles away from where I was born and raised, right? So I don't have family out here. I haven't had family within tangible distance of me for many years, and so there's been a lot of that where I'm just reaching out and grabbing onto people, and I'm saying, "Don't leave me." Um, so it's just interesting to hear your perspective on that, and seeing how closely it relates to mine, and then furthermore how we've learned boundaries with that coping mechanism that we've developed in ourselves. You know, it's just interesting, man. Yeah.
That's what's up. That is what's up. How long is this? An hour?
Solid hour, dude.
There we go. Getting it rocking. We're gonna be back with some. We had some other pointers, but I don't even know how much views it's gonna get. So like, I don't want to continue to drag it out for. I don't know, cause I could.
I gotta work in the morning. I don't want to lose my job over a podcast that gets like 10 views and no thumbs up. So.
Yeah, I gotta work in the morning too.
If you want us to quit our jobs and do this full time, drop a like, hit subscribe, follow my man over here. You got like Instagram? You want to let them know the Instagram, dude?
Yeah, it's a Crossland 0. I'm thinking of creating a fitness Instagram though that I'm gonna attach my podcast to. I mean, my personal Instagram is semi-professional. I don't really have any outrageous pictures on there or anything like that, so I wouldn't mind linking it up there. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. You can text me on here. I'm not giving my number out, so sucks, blow me.
Yeah. Get the business card.
You can get my business number, but you're going to have to hit me up. You know what I mean? Because I can pick and choose whether or not I want to say.
Listen, I'm just going to say this. The way this guy can work a wand is next level. I'm just going to leave it at that.
It's a cryo wand. Alright, don't think anything.
Call it what you want.
It's nothing crazy like that, alright? But yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.
Word.
We got someone, you know. I was saying it, and I told you, your man always comes through. I'm like a magician with that wand.
He follows through with the wand.
I try to be a man of my word today, you know. I try. So if you have any suggestions, you want to hop on, hit me up. Other than that, I don't know. You know, it's late. I gotta work. He gotta work. I gotta take a shower too. Went for training. It's fucking. What time is it? Damn, it's 11:50. Yeah, it's game time. All right, fellas. And ladies too, or whoever decides to watch us.
Yeah.
He, she, they. June 1st, Pride Month. Shout out to everyone who's gay. That sounded rude, but yeah, whatever. It's your month this month. Live it up. I support everyone. You know, just do the right thing and be happy. You know, stay positive. That's all you can do. So, with that being said, adios.